stores. So if he was in lean times, he still got stuff that that he can eat and stuff, and he's obviously drinking very well too.
And what are their more stronger senses, do you think? Every animal seems to have something they're good at.
They have really good eyesight, and they have a real good ability to hide, get under rocks and stuff, and that's a real good survival strategy they have.
Especially against predators, I'd imagine.
Absolutely.
So can you tell us a little bit about this guy's behavior? Is it different from other geckos you've seen in the past, or?
No, this is pretty typical what we have at the zoo. We got all of our geckos are captive born, so we get them when they're really small, and we handle them from the beginning. So they're really used to being handled. And you can see he's pretty calm. He's not stressed out or anything. He's not in a big hurry to go anyplace. So he's used to being handled. And typically, if an animal is uncomfortable, they will give us signals. You know, typically people might think barking or biting or something, but often animals that don't do that may try to struggle to get away.
Yeah. I don't imagine lizards do much barking.
No, that's the great thing about them as a pet. They don't bark, they don't shed.
So would you say these lizards are common pets?
They are, and we actually, if somebody's looking for a reptile for a pet, this is one of them we suggest. This is full grown, so it's not going to be an animal that's going to be difficult to manage. You can feed it crickets, you don't have to get mice and stuff like that to feed it. And they, if you don't have time to pick them up during the day, they're fine with it. It's not like a dog where they need a lot of that attention.
So if you don't mind, let's go to the next animal. What do you have for us, Glenn?
Laura's bringing us out here a corn snake.
Wow.
And this is Topaz, and interestingly enough, same age as our gecko, 11 years old. Wow. And Topaz was also captive born.
Were they twins?
No.
Where does Topaz live?
These are actually native North American snakes, so anywhere from Florida up to the Midwest.
Wow.
And I called them corn snakes, and they don't eat corn, but the reason they call them that is that they are common in cornfields. They eat a lot of rodents and insects and stuff, and that's certainly where you would find a lot of those.
Oh, so could you tell us a little bit about her diet?
In the zoo and actually in the wild, they eat a lot of small rodents. So Topaz gets mice about every 7 to 10 days. And interesting thing about snakes is a lot of people think they're slimy, and you guys can go ahead and touch him, and you can see he's very dry and very cool.
Wow.
Nice.
And you can see he's flicking his tongue out, and what he's doing is he's testing his environment, and they have something in their mouth called a Jacobson's organ, so he can bring the scent back in and figure out what's out there. So right now he probably knows there's a lot of animals out there that are warmer than he is. He's picking up on our thermo signals.
So you're saying that he smells through his mouth?
It's a taste type.
He tastes his environment through his mouth.
Right.
Oh.
Interesting.
Are there any more interesting facts about Topaz you'd like to share with us?
Well, snakes in general, when they grow, they shed their skin in one piece. So they'll do something, we call it, they go blue, is the first thing that happens before they shed is their eye caps separate, the skin on there, and they get like an opaque color. And then they'll actually crawl out of their skin, and you'll have, the skin will be complete, and it'll be like a fingerprint of the snake that was just wearing it. And they do that throughout their life as they are growing.
Wow. And what other strong senses do they have? Because I mean, the taste with their mouth. Do they have anything else, kind of?
They can actually move very quickly. If you've not only corn snakes, if you've ever seen a garter snake or a fox snake in your yard, you get close to them, they can really take off and disappear very quickly.
Wow. Well, we're going to have to stop you right there to go to a quick commercial break, but we'll talk about some more animals and be right back after these messages.
TalkNado. We are here with Glenn Granat, here to show us some more animals.
And right now, Paul is handing Horatio over to me, and Horatio is a savanna monitor.
Oh, he's a big guy.
He is a little bit bigger than the last lizard you saw.
Just a little bit.
A little bit bigger, and he's actually not particularly large for a savanna monitor. They can get quite a bit bigger than this.
How big do you think?
He could probably, on average, he could probably put on another foot. And what you'll see often, if people have these as pets, they'll be a lot heavier, which is not healthy. He's actually in a really good weight right now. Like the other lizard, he's got some weight in his tail, so he's got a good food store. And these guys tend to be much more active, too.
And what do they eat?
What do they eat?
Yes.
Just about anything they can find, but they eat a lot of rodents, but they'll also eat insects. And they've got this really cool behavior. They'll eat giant millipedes, which they've evolved to eat those because those things are actually poisonous.
Wow.
Really?
And millipedes excrete a really toxic and nasty substance through their skin. So what these guys will do is they'll keep rubbing on them until they excrete all they have, and then they'll eat them.
Do they have any other special skills or adaptations?
They're able to warm themselves. They're from sub-Sahara Africa, so They get out in the sun and they heat themselves up. It's kind of a thermal regulation behavior. And when it gets too warm, they go into a shaded spot and cool off.
Wow. Does this guy have any predators?
Absolutely. Birds of prey, as I think we know in Africa, there's a lot of cats. Large cats will eat them, and people will eat them too.
And how does he reproduce?
Eggs. Actually, every animal I've brought out so far has been, they lay eggs. No
Eggs.
live births at all.
Wow. Well, and is there any other cool facts you have on him?
Well, we would recommend with these guys, if somebody wants a lizard as a pet, this would not be a good one to start with because they do have a specialized diet. They need a very large space. They need a very warm environment. And you're probably going to have a lizard like this in excess of 20 years, so it's quite a commitment.
So you'd say start with something like the leopard gecko that you brought in
Absolutely.
earlier and then go to something like this guy?
And we tell people the same thing with a snake. Get a corn snake instead of a python or a boa constrictor. A corn snake you just saw is full grown, and that's as big as it's going to get.
And what is his status in the wild? How's he
They're
doing?
considered either sometimes in some places endangered or vulnerable because of numbers, because of collection, and basically because of habitat loss.
Wow.
And fragmentation. There can be a lot of habitat, but if it's broken up, they're all separate environments and populations, and that's not good for an animal either.
Do they typically like live together and kind of depend on each other? Or?
No, they're solitary except for breeding.
Oh, interesting.
All right.
Well, you have another animal for us,
We
I
do,
believe.
absolutely.
And who's this? Who's this big guy?
Oh.
This is our great horned owl. And interesting thing about the birds of prey at Brookfield Zoo is that none of them have been taken out of the wild to be in our programs. These are all rehabilitated animals. And if you look at her, you can see her one wing droops. She has a wing injury. And we got her from a wildlife rehabber. So if she was in the wild, she wouldn't be able to fly or defend herself or hunt, and she wouldn't survive. But aside from that, she's a healthy bird. She's a relatively young bird and stuff. So we use her for programming. These birds are actually native to this area. You don't see them very often because they're nocturnal. They're active during the night. And they stay around forests and stuff. And typically, if you see one at night, it's going to be at dusk, and you'll see them sitting in a tree.
Oh. Could you tell us a little bit about her habitat?
It's forests. They use that for nesting and for kind of the edge of it for protection. But sometimes they'll go into fields when they're hunting. And they have an adaptation that a lot of other birds don't have. When you hear a bird fly by, you'll hear the flap of the wings. Great horned owls do not make any noise when they fly. They have special wings, so they're very quiet flyers. And really a varied diet, anything from mice to snakes, skunks, rattlesnakes, whatever they can get. And they're able to hit rattlesnakes right behind the head, which is a good place to get them and stuff.
What other kind of special characteristics do these guys have? I notice he's got some pretty big eyes.
They do. You know, some people think they may turn their heads 360 degrees, and they cannot do that, but they can turn it about 180 back and forth very quickly. Wonderful night vision. They can see extremely well at night.
And why does he need to turn his head 180 like that?
It's just the way I looked around, checking out the environment. Nocturnal animals have to have a better scope of their environment so they can see what's going on. And you may not see these very often, but you will hear them typically, actually pretty soon. December through February is breeding and nesting area, so you'll start hearing them calling back and forth and stuff.
So how much do owls like this weigh typically?
What do you think, Francine? About 2.5 pounds? 4 pounds? Yeah, 4 pounds, yeah. Birds tend to look heavier than they are because it's a lot of feathers and they have hollow bones because you have to be light to fly.
And
Is there any other general info about great horned owls you'd like to share with us?
That they're very beneficial animals and stuff, that they keep rodent populations under control, and they're really good to have around. And all birds of prey are protected by state and federal law. So if anybody said, boy, that would be a cool pet, you have to have a falconer's permit, which means you have to go to falconry school, you have to get a federal permit. So they want to make sure that anybody who has these is doing a really good job with them.
And how much would one of those permits cost?
I don't know what the cost of the permit is and stuff, but you do lose some of your privacy too, because they can come and inspect your facility. If you got one at home, people can, they can come in and do an inspection and stuff. And the zoo actually gets inspected too by USDA and AZA on a regular basis.
All right, well, we're going to have to stop you there, Glenn. Thank you so
you.
much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
You
It's
too.
been a blast. We're going to have to cut to a quick commercial break, but we'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to TalkNado. We have Dave Mannon here with us today. Dave, how you doing?
Great, thanks for having me.
Great.
Thanks so much for coming. So today, could you tell us a little bit about the attendance challenge that's going on with RB?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge initiative that we started in the cafeteria this year, and we want to thank our artists from period 5 that went and decorated and drew our mural downstairs that you'd see in the cafeteria right now. And what it is basically is we team up and we pair up our lunch periods A, B, and C against each other, and we look at periods 1 through 8. And we look at their attendance as a whole, and then we gauge throughout a period of a week where they're at with their attendance, and the lunch period with the highest attendance wins incentives. So we might do lunch on the lawn, we might do some music for them, raffles, things like that.
What other incentive ideas did you have? Just give us a little heads up.
Yeah, we're really looking at attendance this year, and we also, we're continuing our Bulldog Buck program, and so through that, our teachers hand out Bulldog Bucks for students that are doing great things in the classroom. And if a student receives a Bulldog Buck, they can put it in a selected locker that has a prize on it, and the prize could be, a T-shirt, it could be candy, it could be other things like that. So.
Fun. What other goals for the building do you have?
Yeah, one of the other goals is engagement. We want to really look at getting 70% or more of our students actively involved in something. So whether it be a sport, extracurricular, activity, music, art, things like that, that's higher on our priority list.
All right. So you're talking about all these new ideas you have for RB. Do you think this, combined with some ideas from the past, could really move RB forward in a positive way?
Absolutely. Our students here are actively involved, and just giving them more opportunities and avenues for them to expand what they're already involved in is something that we're looking to do. So you're going to see here in the upcoming months an extracurricular club. We're going to do intramurals. We're going to start that program up, so kids are going to have an opportunity to play sports and things like that outside of the school day. We're also going to look at doing a key club and some other things that are on the list as well. So,
what other kind of clubs and activities do you think you'll be opening up or offering?
Yeah, on top of that, we're looking at the key club. We're looking at intramurals, and we also welcome students to come down, and if they're interested in opening a club, come see me in the main office, and I'll give you a packet to fill out, and we'll go through that process.
So students now have the opportunity to kind of start their own kind of clubs at RB?
Absolutely. There's a process that they would have to complete, however, but I'll go through that process. They have to see me in the main office.
Can you give us some highlights of that process? Is it fairly difficult, or?
There are some procedures along with it. So you would first initially see me. I would ask you what your mission statement would be, what your rationale and reason for the club, how many students are expected to be in the club, and then they would need to also find a club sponsor, so a teacher, a staff member in the building. Complete those forms, send it back to me, and then we send it to the board for approval.
Do you think student-run clubs might help more students be more engaged because their fellow peers started it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think all of our students have a wide variety of interests, so the more extracurriculars that we can offer in different areas is a benefit to the school.
All right. Now we have been told that you've had some experience with HBO. Do you think
Yeah.
you could talk to us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I was in college and I came home with a flyer. HBO was looking to hire some actors and things like that, and so I didn't know this, but my mom sent a flyer in. I got a call the next day, and HBO hired me on the spot as an extra, which ended up moving into a bit role opportunity for me.
Wow, RB's got their own movie star.
There you go.
So do you think that your experience with HBO could have helped you at RB at all? Just like blending in or helping kids with their extracurriculars?
It gives me another opportunity to see what other avenues students can go in after high school and in their professional careers. And it's not just the actors, there's behind the scenes. It's the camera work, it's the setup, it's the staging, it's the costume design, all of that. And obviously here at RBTV, we provide a great service to our students, and so, helped out in those avenues.
Do you kind of miss the limelight?
I feel like I'm still in the limelight right now, so no, because we're in it every single day. When we walk in the building, there's something going on, and it's always adventurous. So
was there a process you had to go through at HBO to be in the film?
No, you apply just like you would do for any job, because it's a job, so you get paid. And after that, the directors kind of see if they need additional roles. And so I was fortunate. The director, Jane Addams, who is an Emmy-nominated director asked me if I wanted to take on an additional role as a bit player, and so that expanded my time from just being an extra, so I got on camera a little bit more.
Oh, it's a little more money for you too, huh?
Yeah, a little pay increase, and I get stand-ins, so that's great.
Yeah. So can you talk about the film prior to sending in an application?
Did you have any
Film
previous
experience?
information?
Yeah.
You know, I never took a film class. I was in a musical and the plays in high school, and that was about the extent of it. I was also in music in high school. You know, I played the French horn in college and things like that. So I always was around the arts. And you know, when my mom found out that there was some, HBO was on campus, she really wanted to push me in that direction, just to have another opportunity, and that's something that I welcomed. So through that, I was able to apply and I got the position, and it was a great experience for me.
Well, that's wonderful. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
All right, we're going to have to go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back after these messages. Thank you very much. Welcome back to TalkNado. We have Mr. Denny here with us today. Mr. Denny, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Hi. Thanks so much for coming. So could you give us a little recap of the cross-country season?
Yeah, sure. So this year we had a pretty successful season. We ended up 4th place overall in our conference, which is the Metro Suburban Conference, the West Division. And so we had some pretty heavy-duty teams on our side of the division. So we ended up 4th there. Then we moved on to the regional and ended up being the regional champions. And then in the sectional, there are 18 full teams there and an assortment of individual runners, and we finished 8th out of the 18 teams.
Wow.
Were there any differences between your expectations for the season and the reality?
I think we always go in with the mindset like we would like to either qualify for state individually or as a team. Those things didn't happen, but we have a pretty young nucleus that's going to be around for in this foreseeable future, and we were pretty optimistic about where we can go building off of this season.
Was there any surprises for you this season?
I just think a surprise is the strength of the freshman class that we've got. We ended up having 2 freshmen in our top 7 group of runners, and really could have had a third. A third kind of fell to some injuries in the early stages of the season. But just the depth of the freshman class was a really positive surprise for us this season.
Nice. So you said there was an injury. What do you guys do to accommodate injuries?
We try to be as communicative with the athletic training staff as possible, and then any sort of follow-up with physical trainers or doctors that the runners or their families do. We try to be mindful of that, restricting their mileage in a sense, or just really doing workout plans that are best suited for those particular injuries.
And how do you help runners come back from injuries like that?
A lot of times it's kind of you take it easy, working your way back. You alter their workouts a little bit, and really one thing that can kind of get you with cross country is just the addition of the mileage as the workouts build throughout the season. And so you don't want someone coming back from injury saying, all right, now you have to do all these miles and at these specific paces. So you kind of have to work them back in gradually.
Could you tell us a little bit about those workouts? Like, is there a process that you have to go through to get ready?
Yeah, typically we have a pretty structured set of workouts where on Mondays we do long runs, Tuesday, Thursday are more speed days, and then it's critical, especially for those kids who are coming back from injuries, that you have like a Wednesday and a Friday where you can do more of like a recovery run. So you're still getting some miles in, but you're letting the body recover from the really hard stuff that you're doing on Tuesday and Thursday.
Right. And how is it? How does it for you teaching and coaching at the same time? Do you see the same students?
Yeah, sometimes there's an overlap there, but it's just such a different dynamic. I think with class, you tend to be a little bit more structured, rigorous with things that you're doing, assignments, deadlines. In coaching, you sort of have that philosophy, but you can kind of be a little bit looser and get to know kids in different ways, which is awesome. And we have a really good group of girls on cross country. They're committed to what they do. They work diligently to try to improve, but they're so good at balancing the whole work hard, play hard thing. It's a silly group of girls, and it's really unique. It's kind of like a big dysfunctional family all at the same time.
Yeah, so with teaching and coaching, I'm sure you guys have built some really strong bonds. Could you tell us about the personalities of some of your runners or some good times with the team?
Well, they like to institute Wacky Wednesday. That's one of the things that they've done where they wear all sorts of bizarre outfits, mismatched uniforms, things like that as they run. And it's a recovery day, so it tends to be a little bit of a looser day, not as stressful. They're not going after meeting certain times. And so that's one of the ways that they kind of bond as a team. Another thing that was kind of silly is they kind of took the mentality of their coaches for a couple of days, and they had Coach Izagiri Day where they all wore like cool, super trendy hats, and then they had Denny Day where they wore a bunch of University of Illinois apparel, because apparently that's what I do. So.
And how long have you been coaching cross country?
This is my 5th season with cross country.
Wow. So you haven't been at it long, huh?
No, so I'm relatively new to cross country. I've done boys tennis all 11 years that I've been here, but cross country was an opportunity that came my way, and it's kind of, I've fallen in love with it, and I've also used that to kind of help myself in my own training too. You know, I've run a couple of marathons, and just that mindset of running and training has been influential in my own life as well.
Did your background with boys tennis help you begin coaching for girls cross country?
I think so, yeah. You have the experiences as a head coach already with the boys tennis, but it's a completely different dynamic when you're working with girls versus boys. And at first it was relatively smoother transition because I was only the assistant coach for girls cross country, and so I didn't do as much of the upfront planning of workouts and structure and things like that. But I've had the opportunity to do both, which has been wonderful.
And which do you think you like more, teaching or coaching?
Oh man, it's I like them both equally. They're both so different. You know, there are times though where you might have a rougher day in the classroom and you're like, I can't wait to just
run it out.
Just get out there. You know, and running provides that forum where you can kind of get that relaxation or step away from the classroom and things that have happened there.
Perfect. All right, well, we're going to have to stop you there. We're going to have to cut to a quick commercial break, but we'll be right back after these messages.
We're going to actually wrap up TalkNado. Thank you so much for watching today.
And we'll see you next time on TalkNado.